Exercise 10D, question 10, says to use Pythagoras' theorem to solve for x. Now, what we're doing in this chapter is making equations, which we then turn into quadratic equations and then factorize to solve for x. This is no different. We're just starting with an equation that's given to us, Pythagoras' theorem, and that is that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember that c is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the right angle in a right angle triangle. All we have to do is plug in these into Pythagoras' theorem where they belong, and then we can factorize to solve for x, remembering to turn it into a quadratic equation first. So let's do that. X times x plus 1, or x squared plus x plus 1 squared equals 5 squared. Let's rewrite that. X squared plus x plus 1 squared equals 5 squared. Remember that, you could do this in long form and do x plus 1 times x plus 1 and do all the lines. Or we can remember that a plus b all squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. I'm going to do that method. So it's x squared plus a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And 1 squared is 1 equals 25. I'm then going to, I can do this in 2 steps actually, make this slower. I'm going to take this 25 over here because I'm going to take 25 from both sides to get this a 0 because we can't solve it unless one side is a 0. And yeah, in the same move, I'm going to add these two x squares together. So I'm going to end up with 2x squared plus 2x, and then 1 take away 25 will be negative 24 equals 0. Now, let's start factorizing. I can see there's a coefficient greater than 1, and I can see that I can divide each term by that. So I'm going to take that out. X squared plus x take 12 equals 0. We can kind of disregard the 2 because we're doing null factor law, and that's not going to be a 0, it's a 2. 0 is going to be in here. Remember, this times this equals 0, so something here has to be 0. So let's now factorize this quadratic. Now, it's a negative 12 and a 1. What multiplies to negative 12 and has a difference of 1? It's going to be 4 and 3, and it's going to be the positive 4 and the negative 3. So it's going to be, I'm going to leave the 2 off, x plus 4, x take 3. Remember, they multiply to this and add to this, equals 0, which means that x equals negative 4 or positive 3. Now, remember the question up the top. X is the length of this part of the triangle. It cannot be negative 4. It has to be 3. So if this x is 3, from our solving, x plus 1 is 4. And the question, I think, just said solve for x, but if the question said what are all the sides of the triangle, you will have to use your answer for x to go back up and make sure that you put it in to find out what the actual lengths are. Okay, that's how you do it. Turn it into an equation and then make it into a quadratic equation and then solve for x, making sure that you disregard any answers that don't make sense.